now, and then we completed month one, where the focus there was awareness, right? But then this time around in month two, we want to look into systems, right? We want to be able to set systems in place that we don't want to worry much about we being tired, or like uh, yeah, we being tired, but then we have a system in place that once we receive money, no matter how small or huge it is, we know each CD is going to have a job, and then we are also going to allocate every money to a specific thing, right? Whether saving or for investing or whatever you have in mind, right? So we want to understand systems and why even those systems matters, right? So I wouldn't talk much. I would invite Ahmed now, but then before that, uh, in month one, we asked that we all try to get accountability partners. I hope uh, we've been able to do that. Somebody put that on the page. Have you all found our accountability partners? Hello, hello, Jessica. Please, do you have a partner now? Judith, hello, hello, hello. Please, can you all hear me?
Yes, please, I can.
Okay, I was
Yes, I
asking
can
if
hear you.
okay, I was asking if you have a partner now.
No, please.
Okay, but have you spoke with someone on that, or asked somebody to be your partner?
No, please.
Oh, okay. Judith, how about you? Oh, there are two Judith here. Okay, Fuseni, is it Fuseni or Fusene? Fuseni, and then Asiedu. Okay, so that's what we want to look into, to the right systems, right? So please, if you know someone that should be here but then they are not here, you can reach out to them, and then let's get into it. So Ahmed, we can continue. You can take over, and then let's go.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Once again, I trust we are all doing well. Okay, so we are in the middle of our cohort, which is month 2 officially. And as Sebastian said earlier on, last month, we focused on financial awareness, getting to know the why, so that we can now focus on the how, which is the month 2. So let me share my slides, and then we can continue from there. Okay, so please, I hope you can see my screen. Please, if you can see my screen, kindly react to it.
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Okay, so it's a bit unfortunate that most of our members are not here on this meeting, because we of the cohort, which is the month 2. It is the most critical, period. So it's so unfortunate that only few, about 20% are here, which is a bit disappointing, because without this month, without you being able to work on this month, then there's no way you'll be able to achieve the financial clarity that you've been aiming to achieve. Okay, it's just a bit unfortunate, because once you've been able to gain the financial awareness, it doesn't stop from there. You now have to build financial systems that can help you to build the clarity, the stability that you want. So if you have the understanding, but you've not been able to work on the money systems and cash flow structure, then it will be very difficult for you to be able to proceed or have like improvement in your finances. But let's delve into tonight's session because there's a lot to cover since this is the first week of month two, so we have a lot to cover. Okay, so as I said earlier on, last month we focused on financial awareness, but this month is more focused on money systems and cash flow structure. So we all know that chaos when it's come to our money is not about our income. Most of the times it's not about our income, but it's because of the lack of financial structure or systems. And that is why there's financial distress, there's financial stress in our life. So for this month, we'll be focusing on building simple financial systems that will remove daily decision fatigue and also help to avoid emotional spending. And it's not going to be very complicated. No, it's going to be a very clear and simple structure. So, for the goal of this month is to introduce a very simple, repeatable system that help learners manage money intentionally without relying on motivation or willpower. And as you all can see on the slides, the end of or the target for this month is to understand what a money system is and why it matters, have a basic personal allocation structure, feel more control over your cash flow, and also to reduce impulsive financial decisions. And finally, for everyone to experience less financial stress by gaining financial clarity. So, as I keep on saying, last month we focused on the financial awareness. For you to understand your money beliefs and for you to work on that. But for this month, we are going to focus on the systems itself because you can have the understanding, but if you have no systems in place, then it will be very difficult for you to gain the financial clarity. So for these ones, I'm going to skip them since they are not really important. But then let me show this image for all of us here. So the transformation we are continuing with month two today or tonight. And so for this week, we are focusing on motivation versus systems. And the goal is for by the end of the week or by the end of this session, everyone should be able to say, yes, I have a system that. And for next week, we are going to be focusing on allocation, where we are going to compare priority versus perfection. And by the end of the week, that is by the end of be able to say that my every CD has a very clear job that it's doing. And for week 7, is going to focus on safety, which is protection versus growth. Say something like, I have financial briefing room. And then, as we all know, the last week of every month is the integration of everything that we've done from week 5 to week 7. Holiday tracker, which we ask every member to keep track of one financial behavior that they themselves will choose in there, you write it beside that.
Yeah, Ahmed,
And
sorry.
everyone here again, okay,
Sorry, it's
okay, I'm listening.
yeah. It seems your line is breaking. I don't know if it's the internet.
Okay, just a minute, let me try something.
Okay.
I think maybe I'm using AirPods, so maybe it could be the reason.
Okay.
Okay, I hope it's loud and clear now. Okay, then let's continue. So as I said last month, we all gained financial awareness and clarity. We saw our financial beliefs, we face our numbers, and we identify our financial patterns. And awareness alone does not create change, but it is financial structure that does. So for this month, you will take what you learned and build systems around it. Systems that work even when you are tired. Systems that decide for you so that you don't have to negotiate with yourself daily, systems that work even without any motivation. So for month one, we showed you what is happening around your finances. For month two, we are going to show you how you can control it. So officially, let's start with the first week, which is tonight. We are focusing on systems, understanding money systems. Now, let's start with system beat motivation. And this is something not only about finance, it's like in every walk of life, system beat motivation, okay? And this is because motivation is emotional and unreliable. But for systems, it works even when you are tired, stressed, or distracted. For an example, if you automate an amount of money to be saved every day, whether you are motivated to save or not, the system doesn't care about that because you have automated it. So it's going to work even when you are tired, stressed, or distracted. It doesn't care, it's going to work for you. But for motivation, it will even depend on your willpower before it can even work. So that is why motivation is unreliable, but then for systems it works even when you are tired. Now some of you might be asking why systems or frameworks really matter. Now, let's look at this scenario. Most of the times, when your salary or when your income arrives without any structure, it disappears through decisions. That is, once you receive your salary, you might be thinking, okay, I have to pay my needs or spend on my needs. Maybe I have to buy this. You are making every single decisions. But when your salary arrives into a financial system that you've put in place already, is going to be following a plan. You don't have to even decide on how you are going to spend your money because there is an automation that's going to work on that already. So now let's look at this illustration. Just think about brushing your teeth. I'm sure that most of us, when we wake up in the morning, we don't have to debate whether we have to brush our teeth or not because we don't rely on motivation. We already have a system. That is, once we wake up, we go to the bathroom, wash our face, and then we brush our teeth as well. Now, imagine this that you don't have any system when it comes to brushing your teeth. That means that every day you will need motivation before you brush your teeth. Now, do you think that you are definitely going to be brushing your teeth every day? There'll be days that you wake up and you feel like, today I'm very tired. I don't feel like brushing my teeth, and then you might not brush your teeth. But then once there is system, you have to go through the system, and that is why financial systems or any systems in any walk of life really matters. Okay, and with a system, and now with this scenario, money works the same way, okay? Without a financial system, every city that you have becomes a decision. That is, every day you have to, should I spend my money on this? Should I save? Or can I even afford to buy this? And this daily negotiation drain your willpower, and that is why it leads to impulsive spending. That is why you'll be working and you see something you buy because there's no any structure in place. But with a financial system, money flows automatically. Once your salary, once your income or any source of income arrives, the system directs it. Savings happens automatically. Then your bills get paid. Your spending has clear limits. You are not relying on discipline, but you are relying on design. That is because you already have a system or framework in place that provides how you are going to spend your money to you. And now, this is a mistake that most of us do by making our system a very complex system. Now, you have to understand that a financial system doesn't have to be very complex, where maybe you have a lot of spreadsheet categories tracking every item. Well, that is not a system. Indirectly, you're just torturing yourself because for an efficient system to really work, it has to be very simple. It should answer just one question: where does my money go when it arrives? That is the main or the core purpose of systems. Where does my money go when it arrives, so that every day you don't have to be thinking how I'm going to spend my money on all that. And understand this: the best form of system has just three parts. The first one is to protect, that is save your money. The second one is to provide, that is where you spend on your necessities. And then the last one is to spend, where you enjoy your money. So that is it. Okay, that is how a simple system should be. It shouldn't be complicated, where every day you have to be tracking your expenses, where every day you have to decide which amount of money to spend and all that. Systems avoid that. But once you don't have a system, that is where you start relying on motivation. And as we all know, no, motivation is unreliable. Now, this is another scenario. Motivation fades, but systems persist. Now, motivation is like early this year, around January 1st or 2nd, where we have our affirmation. I'm sure most of us here said something like, as for this year, I am going to save. And even some of us went ahead to even say, by the end of April, I should have like 3,000 CDs in my account by saving every month or something as such. But ask yourself, by January 20th, most of us, savings became very difficult for us because by that time, the motivation is gone. We are tired. Every day we are having a stressful day. And that is why when our friends even invite us out, we go and we end up spending a lot of money. But then when it's come to motivation, it doesn't rely on how you feel. Because ask yourself this, imagine that 1st January 2026, instead of saying, as for this year, I'm going to save, you rather say, as for this year, I'm going to put systems in place that will allow me to save. I'm sure that by now you would have over the target that you set for yourself because you didn't rely on motivation, but you are relying on a system that will even integrate system that is will integrate discipline in your life to even help you to achieve whatever that you want to achieve. So systems are really important, and we have like financial distress, financial stress, and chaos in our life because we rely on motivation, but we don't rely on systems. Now, let's talk about discipline. Some of us think that motivation goes in hands with discipline, but that is not true. Okay, and one false notion about discipline is that we think discipline is forcing ourselves to do the hard things, but indirectly that is willpower. And as for willpower, it's very limited. It's not always that you have the willpower to do what you have to do. Even when you know that this thing is very important, I have to do it, I have to learn, I have to save. It's not always that we have that willpower that to do. But then when it's come to discipline, systems really helps you to stay disciplined because for you to be able to be really disciplined, it has to do with how you design your environment so that the right choice is the easiest choice. And that has to do with system because when you put systems around you, and I'm even talking not even related to finance, it has to do with your career, it has to do with your academics, it has to do with maybe your hobby or even a skill that you are learning. Once you put systems in place, then it becomes very, very easy for you to even be disciplined because you've designed your environment so that the right choice can be done easily. But then when there's no system, even be staying disciplined becomes very difficult for you. So if you want to save, for instance, you don't have to rely on remembering that, hey, I have to transfer money to my account, to my savings account every day. You are doing it manually. No, it will reach a time where it will be very difficult for you to do that. But when you put systems in place by automating it, it's going to help you to even avoid impulse spending, delete shopping apps from your phone, and all that. So systems are really important, and that is why I said earlier on that for this month is very, very critical. Last month was very important as it rose awareness about your finances. But for this month, we are going to be really like the exercises are even very practical and a lot because we are going to ensure that everyone has a financial system in place so that after awareness you have the system that can help you to achieve the financial clarity that we all want. So understand this: good discipline in all walks of life, it comes from a good system and structure and not motivation or pressure. Let me repeat that again. A good discipline it comes from a good financial structure, a good academic structure, a good skill structure, and not just any pressure or motivation. Now, I think I said this earlier on that simplicity increases consistency. The more complex your system is, the faster it will fail. So if you think that for a system to work, it has to be very complicated, then you are very wrong. No, it has to be very simple so that you can apply it easily. For example, if you have a system with over 47 budget categories and daily tracking requirements, it will be very difficult for you to go on using it. Within 2 weeks, it's going to collapse. But then for a system with over like at least, or let's say a maximum of three clear priorities and weekly check-ins will last for long. And that is why, whenever something is complex, we think that that is impressive, but it doesn't really work like that. If you want our financial system to really work, then it has to be very simple. So this month, our goal is not to build the perfect system, but our goal is to build a system, a financial system that we can actually use, a financial system that is not going to drain our energy, a financial system that will work whether we are tired or not, and is not going to consider is not going to consider our feelings. So that is the session for tonight. Why financial systems are important, and also you have to understand that for your financial systems or frameworks to work, it doesn't have to be very complex, but it has to be very simple so that. So that is it for tonight, and I'll hand it over to Sebastian to ask questions before we move on to the exercises. So, hear me? Hi, Sebastian. Please, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, yes, Ahmed, I can hear you. Sorry. Okay, so
Okay, so please,
thank you for your presentation. I think I'm also learning a lot here, right? So systems are to help us stay disciplined, right? Not to give us pressure. And then one thing that I also got from here is that with systems, we stay motivated, right? Yeah. So and then discipline to do whatever thing that we have to do. And there is you mentioned that the best money has three parts, right? To protect us, that is by saving and then providing for us, so covering our necessities and all of that. And then finally, we also get to enjoy it or spend it intentionally. So these are my takes, and then I just want to ask everyone here also, can you share like your thoughts with us based on everything that you understood? Not really a question, but anything, or if you have a question, we try to address before we move to the next section. I hope you can hear me right. Okay, good. So can we do that randomly or okay, Jessica?
Okay, good evening to everyone, and thank you for the opportunity. So, when he was speaking about the systems, I could really relate because sometimes we plan when we have our money, we plan for it and everything. I'll save this amount, I'll put this here, but then life gets busy, we forget sometimes, and we are unable to do that. So then when you put a system in place, like it just you just automate everything, and then before you know it, you've been able to say what you actually plan to do. So then there's no excuse of I'm tired, I forgot. The system actually takes care of all of that for you. So I think it's very, very helpful.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Yeah. Please, do we have any other person? Yeah, anything to share as well? Hello. Let me try mentioning a few names. Uh, I see you do. Hello, I see you do. Okay, Judith. And then there is Eunice also. Eunice.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So, I think this session is actually helping me a lot. Um, Previously, I didn't know that like, I wasn't aware of my financial habits and all that, but then I got to know about it, and I think the workbook also really helped, especially with planning the systems. And I just like one thing Ahmed said about how the simplicity of a system actually makes it works than it's being complex. So I'm looking forward to also working on the systems and making it simple as much as possible, because I realize that it's true, making it complex makes it look like a whole tedious work to do. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome. So that's great. Eunice, do you have anything to share with us? Okay, so We are
Hello.
listening. Yeah, hello, Eunice.
Um,
Hey, Judith,
so
sorry.
please, so far, I've learned that we have to always live on budgets, not to just be spending on impulses. We have to have a specific structure for our expenses. That's what I've learned. No, I thought.
All right. So thank you. So before Ahmed comes in again, right? Somewhere last year, when I started this kind of money awareness myself and then also trying to invest at the same time. This is what I've been doing. Once I get money, right, I just push majority part of the money like into investment. Then after a week or two, or even before the month gets to an end, I'm rushing to withdraw the money back. So to stop the investment, right? And this is just telling me that putting systems in place helps you do things that you really want to do rather than just doing it because maybe you feel like your money should be in a particular thing. But because there is no structure, there is no systems, you don't get to do it well as you intend to do it, right? So that is just what I have to share from my personal part of things, right? So Ahmed, we can continue if there is nothing or no one has anything to share.
Okay, all right. Then let's delve into the
Please,
exercise
I want
for.
to ask that having a system.
Please, can you come again?
Please, I was asking that you having a system, is it only about you always investing and saving, or it has other aspects too?
Okay, so Ahmed, can you take
Oh,
that? It's not really about investing, but then, as Ahmed said, he says allocating your money so that you know every city has a particular job is going to do for you. So that's what I would say. But Ahmed, continue from.
oh yes, exactly as that. When we talk about the financial structure, yes, at some point investment comes in place. That is when you have the stability, you are very sure that I can invest and all that. But at its basic, it's about how you allocate your basic spending. It has to do with maybe your basic needs. It has to do with maybe your wants and all that. So you are just putting a system in place to decide that okay, maybe 20% of my maybe salary or monthly allowance or anything will be used on my needs. Maybe 30% will be spent on this and all that. That is, you are putting system in place so that it's not like every day that you are going to decide, okay, I have 1,000 cedis in my account, what should I use it for? And every day you are thinking of what to plan or how to spend it and all that. So I hope, okay, that's fine. Then let's delve into tonight's session, and that is the exercises. So the first exercise is the current money flows diagnosis. So this exercise reveals your existing system, even if it is chaotic. So here, everyone, once you've been able to do this exercise, you'll be able to know whether you have a system. Some of us, we don't even know whether we have a financial system, and most of the times we have, just that it is the wrong one or it is very chaotic. So for this exercise, everyone is going to understand their current or any existing system. So this is the work example for Ajua. She's a 26-year-old professional earning 2,500 monthly. And so with this question, this is how she answered it. The part A is current reality check. When income comes in, do you know where it should go? She said no. And then she noted that I have vague ideas like pay rent, save something, but then I don't have any actual plan. Every month feels different. Then the second question is, which of these best describe your current approach? She said, I spend before saving. And then she said, I pay bills first, then spend on whatever comes up, then try to save what is left. Normally, there's nothing left. Then the third question is, how often do you make money decisions emotionally? She said, often. Then in her note, she said, especially after a hard day or when I see something I want online. That is when she makes most of her emotional spending. Then for part B, there's going to be like money flow sequence. Okay, so salary hit accounts, she lists it. pay rent immediately, the amount, then check balance, fee release. I have 1,700 left, buy groceries, spend freely for 10 months and all that. So it's like every month, once she receives her salary, this is the process that she goes through. And it is a system in some way, just that it's not the right system. Because once the salary hits, first of all, she pays rent. Then when she check her balance, she seems like she has 1,700. Then she buys groceries. Then she spends for the next 10 days freely on data, transport, random items, and all that. And then by day 15, she realized that she has spent too much. She starts feeling anxious for the rest of the month. Then she go into debt by borrowing a lot of money. So week one, this is the exercise itself. Okay, when income comes, do you already know where it should go? So there are a lot of options based on your reflection and what really happens. You just have to be very honest. What happens in your life, you just circle it, because for you to be able to achieve the clarity, you have to be really honest with how things are going, especially with your finances, so that you can gain the financial clarity. Because you can't gain the clarity with falsehood. You can't just pretend that everything is okay or something as such. You have to be very consistent with your reflection and all that. Then the second question is, which of these best describe your current approach? So there are a lot of options: pay bills, then spend, then save what is left, no clear order at all, spend freely, save if something is left, maybe save first, then spend what is left. So all of us say we have different options. But some of us we don't have clear order. Sometimes once we receive our money, we decide that okay, let me pay this first. Maybe we already budgeted like a shirt that we've seen online. So once we receive our salary, we just buy it, or we don't have any order. So among the options, you just circle the best option. Then the third question says, how often do you make money decisions emotionally? Maybe, sometimes, often, rarely, you just take the best one. Then the part B is the money flow sequence. So once your salary hits your account, what are the sequence that you go through? Maybe once it's hit, so the step one will be salary hit account. You state the amount. In case maybe you want privacy, you don't. It is not a must for you to write your salary there, because maybe you'll be sharing it with us, and maybe you don't want anyone to know your salary. But then you can just leave that part, so that you just continue with, maybe when I receive my salary, I first pay my rent or my fees, then maybe I go on grocery shopping, then maybe I save or something as such. These are the steps that you have to go through that. Then for part C, which is pattern recognition. So after that, looking at your flow, what pattern do you see? At what step does your system usually break down? If you could change one system in this flow, which will it be? Then you just state it there. Then for exercise 2, we are focusing on system versus chaos assessment. So there's going to be, I think, around 8, yes, 8 different statements, and you are supposed to rank them or rate them from 1 to 5. So 1 is never true and 5 is always true. For example, if you know exactly where your money goes each month, then you rate it maybe 3, that is normal, maybe 4 or 1 or 2. Then I have a consistent process for handling income. I rarely make impulsive financial decisions and all that. So for each statement, you grade yourself out of that. Then overall, you state the total number that you had over 40. Then once you are done, there's an interpretation. If you have 32 to 40, that means you have a very strong system. Then 24 to 31 is you have a partial system. Below 60 means you are operating. Just be honest here. There's not going to be, grading or something. Just be honest so that you know your current situation and then the best way you can take it from. Then that to answer after grading yourself and all that. So these are the exercise for this week. Just 2 exercise. And once we are done, only do you just use this prompt to share a brief reflection of what you've done so far. So as we move on to next week, just that for now, after you've done all exercise. That means you've diagnosed your current system or lack of one. You have seen where financial chaos lives. So for next week, we are going to be focusing on allocation thinking, the foundation of any working money system. That is, you will be able to answer the question that what job should each of my CD do? So allocation is not about perfect percentage, it's about clear priorities. And that will be our core focus for next week. Because it's going to be very critical. As I said, a lot of guide you to your path to financial side before we call it a day. We spent 50 minutes so far. Any question from anyone? Okay, then I believe that is okay. So I want Sebastian to come and end the meeting. So as we await him to have his network back, let me engage you guys on, a key insight on what we've learned so far tonight.
So
So
I continue, and then when you are done, my network is going off again. So
okay, so when you are ready, you can tell me so that you can end the meeting. So let me start with the first person on the list. Let me see. All right, Eunice Aqua. So please, any brief insights on tonight's session? Hi, Eunice. Please, can you hear me?
Can hear you. I'm trying to leave where I am
Oh, okay.
as it's quite noisy. These minutes.
Okay. All right, then let's move on to Evangel. Please, can you hear me?
Ready now. So I would say tonight's session has actually opened my eyes to the systems. So what actually stood out for me was when you said we starting the year out with plans and all that. I realized myself I had a lot of plans, and to be honest, the systems were quite complex. But you hearing you speak about how um systems override motivation is actually standing out for me, because I think in the beginning of the year I was very very motivated to hit some financial goals, but as I now it's like the system has humbled me. So um, now I know that I have to work with systems, and looking at the systems, I have to have a clear goal in mind, and it should also be very, very simple and not something complex that I'll be worried all over when I'm unable to achieve it. So, yes, so far that's what I'm carrying with me tonight. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, and thank you so much, Eunice, as well, for sharing your insight for tonight. So let me move on to the next person. Okay, seems like Evangel couldn't answer any question. So Jessica, please, can you share any insight for tonight's session from tonight's session?
Okay. So, like I said earlier on, I think systems are very, very important because most times, if we rely on willpower to do certain things, especially when it has to do with our finances, we fail most of the times. Life happens, our emotions get into place, and all of that. So, today, I've learned that systems actually do the real work. So, I should learn to put in systems. Thank you.
All right, and thank you so much for sharing your insight. And let's move on to the last person, and then we can call it a day. Judith Boabin, please kindly share an insight from tonight's session. And then, since
Um, please, this evening, what I'm taking along is we should always build we should always build a strategy. We should always build a financial structure for our our income. We should know where each city is going to, whether we are going to invest, whether we will spend with this city, whether we will save with this money. So we should always build financial structures. Thank you.
all right, thank you so much, Judith, as well. And yes, we should always build financial structure or systems around our finances so that we can achieve the clarity that we all want. And so it's been great having all of you here for tonight's session. It's been really insightful in as much as not all members were available for tonight's session. Hopefully, next week, everyone will be available for that. Thank you so much for your time and for being here throughout the tonight's session. We appreciate you. And once again, I'll be sharing the workbook for this week on our platform once after we are done with this meeting so that you can start working on it. And please, just to ensure that you are really working on that, maybe once you are done with your workbook, you can share with me, or as we suggested to you the last time, that get an accountability partner so that it can help you to, stay consistent. It's even part of like putting a structure in place, because maybe now you might be motivated that, oh, once I might share the workbook, I'm going to do it. It's motivation. You haven't put a system in place. But a way of putting a system in place is by having an accountability partner. And I'm available, Sebastian too is available. In case you can't reach any of the members for that, come to us and we will serve as your accountability partner so that we can ensure you are really taking action. I keep on saying this and I'll keep on saying it until we are done with this cohort. You can have all the knowledge about financial intelligence, but if you don't take action, there's no way you can be wealthy. There's no way you can gain the financial clarity that we all want. So please, let's make it a point to have an accountability partner, or at least let's make sure that on Sunday we submit the workbook so that we can share update or feedback on that. So on this note, I thank you once again for a great evening and I wish you all a great night. Bye.